Chris Hogan is here, longtime NFL receiver. I'm going to talk a lot about that. We know he played with the Patriots. He played with a bunch of teams. One of the most interesting stories of his era when you talk about going as a lacrosse player, transitioning. So we're going to start with that. I booked this not knowing you were in another Omaha show recently, Rabel's Places. Then I saw it and I go, oh my God, this is perfect. He's Mr. Omaha. You're basically a third Manning brother at this point, Chris. What do I not know about the transition from lacrosse to football?
I mean, listen, my story has been out there. I've told it countless times. The transition that I made from lacrosse to football, and then from football back to lacrosse.
Yep.
For me, it was nothing really changed for me. It was always the reason I went from lacrosse to football was to check something off a bucket list. I wanted to play college sports, right? I wanted to play football. I always wanted to play football in college. So boom, there, did that. The NFL wasn't even a thought at the time. And then I get, along in my career, I'm going like 9/10 of my year of my career. I'm like, well, I had a relationship with Rabel and Paul, and PLL was starting to, grow some legs. And I said, you know what, let's give this a go. Let's go back to lacrosse, right? Because I mean, listen, I love to compete. It was something that I've always been. It's carried me throughout my whole career. And so I went back to lacrosse, and again, it was like, hey, I could be a two-sport athlete, something a lot of people have really never done. So there wasn't a lot of thought into any of these decisions. It was more of like, okay, cool. This is a chance for me to go compete and play sports and do something I love.
It's crazy, just the passions that guys have, and obviously competing was the through line for you. I just had Drew Brees on the show a couple weeks ago, and he said that he's become completely obsessed. I don't know if you know this, with lacrosse because his kids got into it. Yeah. Have you crossed paths with him on this?
No, I have not, okay. But I've seen. I see him on social, and I do see that his kids have started to love the sport. So it seems like this happens a lot more. These dads, right? The lacrosse is growing so much, and they might have not played it growing up. But now their kids are just invested in it. And you're going here, all these different teams, and all of a sudden they just become invested in it. They didn't really know much about it. I know. So I followed Drew. I know that he loves the sport.
He's obsessed. He told me he's obsessed, and he thinks it also so Drew is really into multi-sport children. Just like getting on stuff. And he's like, lacrosse is perfect. You're doing the running, you're doing the hand stuff. Like it's really good cross training. I just quickly before we get to the football, I live in Westchester County in New York, and I'm like. I've been telling the dads when I moved here, this was 2 years ago when I moved here, they're like, hey, I was like, hey, I'm going to get him in this sport. And they're like, let me stop you right there. Your kid's going to play lacrosse because everybody else in the high school is going to play lacrosse. And that's just what we do here. So you get settle down on the hockey and everything else and the golf and get the guy a defenseman stick. Okay.
There you go.
All right. So let's get into the football. You follow the Patriots most closely.
Yep.
Stephon Diggs is in camp now. There's all sorts of places we can take that. I was on TV on Friday, and Jeremy Fowler was like, well, they're going to give Stephon Diggs early small doses. And I said, careful on that phrasing, buddy. Careful on that phrasing. I think that there's a hope there because there's credibility. There's Mike Vrabel. There's Diggs. There's Drake Maye in year two. I'll give you the floor. How good can this team be right now?
I mean, It's tough. It's tough to tell. I've been following the Patriots pretty closely now. It's really since I stopped, and then I have my podcast that I do with Chris Price, and we have the Patriots report that we do all throughout the year, and we always have this cautious optimism, right, of the pieces that we have. I think this year this is a full team. I think as a picture, I think that this team is. I'm not going to say complete. But we definitely have more pieces to the puzzle than that we've been missing in the past. I think adding Josh is huge. I think having an offensive coordinator, having him in the room with Drake, teaching him offense, teaching him how to play the position, I think that's going to be huge for him. Adding Diggs, adding Matt Collins, adding some other guy, Williams in the draft, hopefully kind of speeds up the younger guys that we took last year. And/or, if they don't, then – listen, man, it's the NFL. It's business, right?
So, and it's Mike Vrabel, who loves the roster churn as a statement.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, he got rid of There's no one there anymore from the previous years that I played. So they got rid of Joe Cardona was the last one, I think, and they got rid of him. So
last Super Bowl winner, right?
Yep. Yeah. So The defense is what it is. We've always had a good defense. We added some pieces there. I think Mike's going to have that team. You know what? Everyone knows what type of team this is going to be. Mike's going to have a competitive team out there. Guys are going to be flying around. I think offense is really the biggest question mark. Is hey, how is Stephon going to look? Is he going to be able to play early on in the season? How is Drake going to handle the offense? How is the offense as a whole going to handle this offense? Because we all know, we've all heard about it. There's been documentaries and people have talked about it. Josh McDaniels' offense is hard to understand, right? It's hard to learn. There's a lot of detail. There's a lot that goes into it. So I think you got to put a little bit of accountability on the players and have them, kind of digest it and learn it and study it and come to training camp kind of ready to go so that Josh can open up this offense. If he's not going to be able to do all the different things with the personnel and the formations and the movement, if he's not able to do that with this offense, then there's some limitations here. But if guys are able to understand it, learn it, play multiple positions, sky's the limit, man. And then it's just then it's on the players, right? How are they going to perform? And I think that there's a lot of excitement this year. I do. I really think Mike has kind of breathed some new energy into this organization. He's brought some. He's totally turned over. You got Josh back. I mean, young quarterback and Drake, and he played well. I mean, I think everyone sees what we have in Drake. He's got great arm talent. He's a good athlete. We added some more pieces on offense, some more protection for him too, so that he's not, running for his life, which it seemingly he was last year. So we'll see how good Will Howard is. Listen, man, or Will Campbell. Campbell. And I think the arm length thing is total BS. I've listened to this kid talk. I mean, he's ready to die for this kid. I really think that he's ready to die for his quarterback. So I really am. I'm excited. I really couldn't tell you how this team is going to play out. And I think the schedule is favorable for New England. I think that we have a lot of winnable games. But again, man, this is the NFL. Every single week is going to be tough. And you're playing in a conference where you're going to have to play Buffalo twice a year, and Miami's kind of a toss up whether or not they're kind of like one of those bubble teams. Idea. Maybe
you're talking about a team I have no idea what's going to happen with.
Right, but I feel like that's kind of been like the last couple of years for them. Yeah. So you're going to go to Miami. They're going to give you a tough game. They're probably going to come to New England. They're going to lay an egg, and and then the Jets are the Jets, right? So it's like you could beat them twice, or maybe they come out and play you well once. So it's. Again, man, I'm excited for this team. I'm excited with what Mike is doing. Yeah. I think that we have a lot of young. The locker room is young, right? Yeah. There's a lot of young guys, a lot of young energy, and we've added some veteran guys that hopefully are going to be able to provide a little bit of leadership. And we'll see what they can do with this.
I'm intrigued when he said the Josh offense is hard to learn. We know that. Dante Stallworth told me the story years ago. First drive in preseason, he's on, I'm going to screw up the terminology, but I think he was on the backside of a play, and he was just running a route that had never featured in practice, it was just as I've heard described, the love of the game route, right?
Sure.
He starts running it, ball bounces off his helmet because he's not looking, and Dante Stallworth goes, "What the hell was that?" And Josh McDaniels goes, "There are no dead routes in this offense. You have to be alert all the time." And so I don't want to get into that necessarily, but I do want to get into Drake. If he masters this Josh offense, how does it make him better specifically? Like, what can Josh McDaniels do for Drake Maye?
I think it just for Drake, it's going to give him a better understanding of how to manage a football game. I think we all saw Tom for years. Tom he managed football games. I mean, he knew when he was able to take his shots. He knew how to take his matchups. He knew when the ball needed to get out of his hands. So I think what you're going to see with Drake is, I think you're going to see good ball protection, right? I mean, we can't turn the ball over. That's been something that has kind of been our Achilles heel really for the last couple of years. We haven't done a great job in that category. So hopefully taking care of the football is going to be his number one priority, but nowhere to go with the football, right? I mean, that's kind of where it starts, being able to diagnose the defense, but getting help from Josh, right? Maybe it's a movement, maybe it's a formation that he's able to kind of see everything, zone, man, zone, like whatever, diagnose blitzes, be able to throw off those, so there's so much that I think from an IQ knowledge standpoint that Josh is going to be able to kind of take Drake to the next level, right? Drake's a good athlete. I don't think that Josh is going to be able to do anything where he's going to be like, hey, man, you need to change the throwing motion of your arm, or, this is how you're going to get the ball out quicker. That is not Josh. That's not where Josh thrives. Josh thrives in his ability to teach football, teach offense, and then just be a chess player, right? Josh is they're going to game plan the hell out of these teams, man. And if the offense is open to him and he's got full range of what he wants to do, then that you'll see that come out week in and week out, right? Where you're not going to see the same Rolodex of plays. You're going to see a different. We used to have different playbooks, like going in. We might have one play, but it's going to be in 10 different formations, and defenses, it's tough to prepare for. So I think if anything, that's probably going to be a goal for this offense is let's be tough to prepare for, right? And not be, very black and white and
Right.
know what we're doing on 1st and 10 and 3rd and 10 and short. So I think being able to be unpredictable is going to help this offense tremendously.
What was the best offensive game plan you guys had when you were in New England? Which game?
Wow, we had a lot. But I will say the AFC Championship game against the Steelers at home. It seemingly Pittsburgh runs the same defense just every single year.
For decades.
Cover three man on the outside. You know exactly what they're doing. And the game plan that we had going into that game, we knew exactly Julian was running juke routes on linebackers all day long. We had no huddle in there. First play of the game, we ran a play and we went straight into no huddle. So we knew that once we went no huddle, that cover 3 zone, that's all that it was going to be until we had a dead ball. They called a timeout or something like that. And then we knew that something was going to come, right? Yeah. We had the flea flicker drawn up. We had different formations drawn up. And we went no huddle for just a majority of that game. And they just couldn't stop it. And it was one of those games where, you felt like offensively, there was nothing that Josh called or when Tom had the ball. Like it was all going to be positive plays. And that, honestly, man, that was one of the better games that I've been around. Just from a whole, right? Everyone touched the ball. Julian, Danny, me, James White, LeGarrette. Everyone got a piece during that game. And offensively, it was great. And you want to talk about the opposite side of the ball. They had AB and Le'Veon Bell, 2 guys. Listen, Le'Veon was dealing with a hamstring. I remember that game. But those are the 2 guys. AB maybe had a couple of catches, but that was Bill, right? Bill and that whole defensive staff. It's like, okay, who's the guy, right? Who's the guy we're going to stop? And those guys would just be double teamed, pressed at the line of scrimmage, just annoying as all hell to get open. And it was fun being around those coaches, man. They used to the game plans that they used to come up with. It was pretty cool.
It is crazy. It was crazy to see when Belichick was at his peak, week to week, what they were able to do. Like I went to a game, think about it all the time. I think it was before you were there, where they played Jimmy Graham of the Saints and Drew Brees, and Jimmy Graham had the standing record for most 100-yard games in a row in the NFL, and Belichick put Aqib Talib on him and just said, you know what, we're going to treat Jimmy Graham like he's Randy Moss, basically, and he didn't have a catch. And
we did the same thing in Kansas City. Stephon Gilmore, hey, you're going to play Travis Kelce. Yeah. Right? And then we're going to put our fastest guy, Jonathan Jones, who runs a 4.2 whatever. We're going to put 4.2 guy on Tyreek Hill, and then we're going to have safety over the top. And that was, we just did those different things where it's like you come out as offense, you're like, now you're just like, you're trying to get something going just because, but you've just never seen it before because they approached the game differently when it came to the game plan, and they wanted to do different things where it was just impossible to prepare for.
Foxworth was on the show last year, and he was telling the story about how they played the Steelers and Hines Ward in the playoffs, and they had the right game plan, but the wrong personnel. They couldn't match up. They didn't have a body for Hines Ward. Belichick saw it, ran the exact same playbook that the Broncos did, but he had the personnel for it, and they wiped out that Steelers team. But it's like, that's the brain where it's like, oh, wait, they can't get there. We can get there. And it's just so funny to see how that works. Best receiver in football right now. Who's got the belt?
Jamar Chase.
Explain.
Look, what he did last year with all the outside noise of the contract situation. Yeah. Listen, there was a lot at stake there that last season, and he goes out, wins a Triple Crown. Guy was seemingly unstoppable all season long. And you know that he's getting double teamed. You know that he's got the best guy on him every single week, week in and week out. And he just continued to perform and to put up numbers. And it was really fun to watch him play last year. I enjoy watching him. I think that he's a tremendous route runner.
Yeah.
But I think he plays the game the right way. I really do. I mean, he seems like a professional. The way that he comes out, every single, he's not in the media complaining about targets. I mean, listen, he's getting his targets. He's Joe's guy, right? So he's going to get his targets, but he's not that guy that's going to be outspoken. He had a lot of stuff going on with all of his contract situation, but like you forgot about it last year because of what he just came out and played, and he earned what he got like tenfold, right? Just because of how he performed all season long. So listen, man, until someone can outperform him for 17 games that were into the playoffs and do what he did for last year, he's got the belt for sure.
Explain, as someone who's played the position, who's a great route runner, who had that kind of body control, the connection between Burrow and Chase. Because when I look at it, it almost seems supernatural, similar to what Brady had with some of his receivers. And you always heard the stories. Brandon LaFell told me the story about, and we can get to some Brady stories, but about they were in Miami and Brady made LaFell literally, they play catch staring into the sun so that he wouldn't lose a ball in the sun during the game. Like that kind of thing, right? With Burrow and Chase, it seems very similar, where they're just so prepared and they know each other so well, they almost never make a mistake. Explain that connection as someone who's done it.
Yeah, I think those guys they're just so in sync with each other. Yeah. So when you get that sort of connection between a quarterback and a receiver, and that's tough to get to that point. It is. You have to put in a lot. There's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of practice, a lot of running routes on air, so much timing, but also you get to that point in that relationship where you just know, like Joe just knows where Jamar's going to be. He knows how he's going to run a slant versus press. He knows how he's going to get open on a fade route, right? Where he knows that, Jamar is going to be looking back at 10, 12 yards if it needs to be a back shoulder. But like and the same thing goes for Jamar, right? I mean, he knows that he's coming across the middle in traffic. Like Joe's going to put the ball low so he gets him keeps him out of harm's way, or he's going to put it maybe a little bit behind him to stop him a little bit so he doesn't run into traffic. Those are all the things that I saw Tom do when I got there. And it was one of the things that was just so impressive to me about how he worked with all of his receivers. And he was just so in tune with, hey, this is how I want this route to look. And we're going to run it 50 times until I like the way that it looks. Well, it might just be a simple out route, right? It might just be a hitch, right? Where you're running 4 steps, turn around. But those were the details that Tom, that good quarterbacks, Joe, they care about, right? Because those could be plays, whether it's, 3rd and short, they got to make a first down, or they need, like, if they know that this could be a big play in the game, like they're just going to work at it. And, the amount of time that I spent after practice or on the field with Tom or even in the film room, right? Like those were also important minutes where you got time to look at film, watch practice film, or watch the other team and be like, hey man, this is how this guy ran this route against this corner, right? And I think that this could be a really good way to do these things. So like that kind of that communication is also you're never going to have that quarterback in sync with a receiver and just you're not going to talk to each other, right? There's always going to be that communication, whether it's happening throughout the week or it's like, hey, this is how they're playing me, right? This is Sunday. These are live bullets, right? Hey, they're changed it up, right? The guy's playing me heavy inside, so this is how we should run this route, or maybe we should do something differently. So that's probably a lot. You see a lot of that with the quarterback and these good receivers where it's constant communication, right? And they're going to get it right, and they're going to know, okay, cool. Hey, I know how he's going to run this route because of what he told me on the sidelines or what we worked on throughout the week. And it just becomes easy. It's like, hey, that's where he's going to be. Bang, 12 yards on the sideline, 2 yards from the numbers. I know Jamar's going to be there.
Yep.
Done. Right? I know how Julian's going to run this juke route, which can be run a million different ways depending on the leverage or the defense or what we're seeing. Julian and Tom and Danny and we worked on those routes all throughout the week, training camp, OTAs, so that we knew, hey, we got cover 3, got out linebacker, boom, gonna break it across his face, or I'm just gonna sit down, give you my numbers, and ball's there, right? Yeah. So that you guys, they're always on the same page. It's such a huge part of the game for the quarterback and receiver relationship, and you can just tell when you're watching on Sundays, the guys that have that in sync and they're communicating, it becomes easy. It's pitch and catch.
I was going to ask, so I want a Brady story, but let's stay in this ballpark here. Can you give me a Brady level of detail that in a million years nobody would have expected? Something where you're just like, hey, we worked on this and it's just absolutely out of this world. Because I know there are a bunch.
Yeah, there are a lot. Gosh, we used to. Just from all the routes, it could be. I'll tell you one. It was, we were playing and this was even a story that I have for myself, but we were playing the Ravens and there was a coverage that they played, but didn't play it very frequently. But we had a call, right? And if it was, take the middle of the field. If they went to split safety, they didn't do it very often. But if we saw it, take the middle of the field. And it was a big game. It was at home. I think it was like a Thursday night game, and we were in our own red zone. And we called that play, and I was in the slot. And all of a sudden, I was running down, the field. All of a sudden, I see both safeties go like this, and I'm like, screw it. And I just took the middle of the field, literally looked up, and the ball was like, teardrop, like right in my hands. And those were some of the moments that you just, all that, that play may have never came up throughout the entire year, but we worked on it in practice. We saw it on film. We went over it in walkthrough. Be like, hey, if this happens, like, you have to do this, right? And this is what it's going to look like. And there's so many instances of that, of just Tom was so specific of how he wanted routes to look, how he wanted you to get open versus man, where he wanted you to be versus zone. He wanted everything to look smooth and fluid, and we went over it so much, and the detail for him, it was great, man. Also, you had to have your head on a swivel because this guy could change the play at any, and I learned that very early on in my career. I remember we were in training camp, and I'm so hyper focused on where to line up, doing the right thing, and just like getting open for this guy and catching the football, that I'm not focused on him at all. I'm just like, hey, okay, let me listen to the snap count. The guy's in front of me. It's man coverage. Great, whatever. So I blast off the line. All of a sudden, I see a ball come flying out like the other way, and I screwed up. But like he knew that, right? He knew I wasn't looking at him, and he does this, right? He would, he'll give you like, hey, I'm gonna signal, like, or I'm gonna look at you. And when I tell you that his little, like, we just run a little smoke route, which is come off the line for one step, bang, and like his smoke route was this. It was just like he'd just look at you, give you this little, like, so if you weren't paying attention to him. And he would do this, right? He would test his receivers, and he knew guys. If you weren't looking at him the entire time, he'd call you out. Like, he would let you know, and he'd give you one of those signals, or he would, he'd go like this, right? Where it's like, hey, you got to run it out. He'd change your route, and he would do that to new guys. He would do that to Julian. He'd do it to Danny, Gronk, but he wanted to do it to make a point, and he'd do it in practice. It wasn't like we were in the middle of a game where he's trying to screw us up.
Yeah.
But it was practice, man, where it's like, hey, this could happen. Like, I need you to be, this is how locked in you have to be when I'm at the huddle. And if I see something and like, hey, I want you to run it, you got a fade or a post or whatever, but like, no, he's 10 yards off. I want you to just run a quick out route and get 5-6 yards. Like, I'm going to do that. Right. So that was Tom. And Tom had free reign of that kind of stuff. And Josh trusted him wholeheartedly to make those right decisions. So it was a pretty interesting, like, it was one of those things where now it's like every single play. My eyes are literally looking like every single time, every single call, just to make sure I didn't screw that up. It got to better to a point where I knew when it was going to come or when it was going to happen. But probably for a long time, like, I'd run out of the huddle looking at this guy, just making sure I didn't miss anything.
So you thought he ripped it past your face just to say, "Hey, man, like, you got to look
absolutely.
at me." That's amazing.
Yeah, like,
that
hey,
is
I'm gonna
amazing.
hold you. That whole accountability thing and making sure that you knew exactly what you were doing. He took that seriously, and he would tell you, it's like, listen, if I don't trust you, I'm not throwing you the
Yeah.
football. You ain't getting it. I don't care if you're wide open. Like, if I don't trust you to know exactly what you're doing on every single play, then I'm coming out of the huddle and you're not even a thought. Hey, I know that Gronk, I know Julian, I know Dan, I know that these guys know the plays. I know I
Yeah.
can trust them. James White, right? Like all these guys that I played with, he trusted them, right? And you had
Yeah.
to earn that trust, and the trust was earned in OTAs and training camp, and putting in that extra time with him, and you had to earn it. So yeah, that was an early on trust
Oh my
test
God.
for me, and I failed. I failed that one, but I earned it back quickly because I didn't screw up probably for the rest of the 3 years that I was there running routes like that. But yeah, man, it was playing with Tom was a very unique and awesome experience.
That's awesome. All right, 3 quick ones for you. First one's called badasses. Most badass person you ever played with in football. The way I describe it, listeners have heard it a million times. Alien comes down, says, "Take me to the meanest, baddest, toughest football player." Where are you going?
Oh man, I mean, I played against a lot of them, but um, Cam Chancellor is probably
Oh wow.
one of the baddest, strongest human beings I've ever encountered in my career. I mean, I remember having to go down and crack block, go down and hit a safety, right? And he was the guy. That was a business decision as a receiver, where it's like, this is probably not going to go well for you, but this is your job. And I remember trying to give this guy everything I had, and it was like literally running into a brick wall with steel behind it and cement behind it, and it hurt. I mean, he was a bad dude. I played against Ray Lewis, tried to stay
Yeah.
away from him. I played against some pretty bad, some bad mother effers, but yeah, those two guys were fun to play against, just because of they were also, their football IQ was just like next level. They just knew where to be, and you definitely did not want to get hit by them.
I love that. One rep back. You can take one play back from your career, get to redo it. Where are we going?
Super Bowl 2016
Mm.
in it, yeah, in Houston against Atlanta. Now, let me preface this with, I made the play the next play, but we were in, it was fourth quarter. It was the drive that we were going down to tie the game,
Right.
and it was second and 10. We had the ball backed up in our end zone, and we called the play, and it was I ran a fade route. I mean, listen, I was beating my guy all game long, and had a fade. I had a couple steps on the guy, and Tom launched one. I mean, this thing was like up in the air. It seemed like in real time, it seemed like it was up in the air for a minute. I mean, and I remember losing it in the rafters and the lights for like just a second. And I mean, when you talk about a ball that just was like right here and it went right through my hands, in a big time game. I mean, when I look back on it, that would have been. I honestly don't know if the guy would have caught me if I caught it, and because I had room in front of me, and there was no one else there. Well, anyways, couldn't dwell on it. Had to come back and run a 3rd and 10, and I caught that one, moved the chains, and moved on. And we ended
There we
up,
go.
everyone knows the story after that. But yeah, that's one that I do think about that one from time to time. Still, I didn't have a ton of drops in my career, and I
Right.
could probably name most of them for you if we really went back on it. And but that, I always prided myself on making those plays in big time situations. When the ball came to me, I wanted to be that guy that was able to kind of come up with those, and that was one that I would love to have that one back.
I'm trying to see if Pro Football Reference has drops here, but I don't see it. You're off the hook. You don't have to name all your drops this time. We'll come back in the fall and we'll do Chris Hogan's drop theater.
Right. Right.
Last one. Funniest guy you ever played with and a story.
Um, I mean, I played. Listen, I played with Richie Incognito. I mean, that guy was, I mean, you want to talk about a guy that you'd love to take the field with, because
Yeah.
he was just a dog. But I mean, you want to talk about a guy that just had fun playing the game and just was a big time ball buster. And we all
Yeah.
know what Richie is, and his personality and
Sure.
but
Famously.
honestly, man, like if he liked you and he would break your balls a lot, and I loved playing with him. Another guy that honestly I'm not sure if I would say the funniest guy, but a guy that I just loved playing with and being in the locker room with was Lee Smith. He was a tight end.
Oh yeah.
For Buffalo for a long time, and then he went on to play. I think he played in Oakland for a couple of years. But another one of those guys that was like just kind of blue collar guy, came out, worked his ass off in the weight room. Wasn't like the fastest or the most talented, but like this dude would just, I mean, he would go out there and just do whatever the hell you asked him to do. And I just remember, a lot of those guys, I just remember the times in the off season hanging out, going, this is like during my time when I was 25, 26 years old, didn't have any family living with. And, I would go, this is a guy that invited me to his house for Thanksgiving. Right. Yeah. Or I'd go hang out with them. And they were just good players, man. And they were just good teammates. And, I mean, they were good guys to share a locker room with. Let's put it that way.
I love it. Chris Hogan, it's been amazing. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Thank you, Billy.